Okay, in 6-2 we're going to solve proportions. We're going to talk about proportions and solving. A proportion is an equality of two ratios. When I say equality, I mean two ratios are equal. When I say ratios, I mean fraction. So a proportion is really two fractions that are equal. That's what a proportion is. So we developed some strategies to identify if two fractions represent a proportion. And these are the three strategies. Strategy number 1, you can multiply one fraction by something to get to the other. That just means if I had the fraction 1/2 and if I had the fraction 8/16, what can I multiply 2 by to get to 16? Doesn't work for the top. Okay? So I can multiply 1/2 by 2, or just kidding, not 2, by 8 and get to 8/16. That says they're a proportion. They're proportionate, okay? The second strategy, if they simplify down into the same reduced fraction. So let's look at 3/4, and let's look at 12/16. Well, 3/4 is already simplified down, and if I were to simplify 12/16 down, I can divide them both by 4, and I get the fraction 3/4. And the third strategy is the strategy we're going to use the most as 7th graders, and that's if their cross products are equal. I'm going to deal with my 3/4 and my 12/16. And I'm asking myself, this is a question, does 3/4 equal 12/16? So a cross product is defined as multiplying the diagonals. So when I say cross product, that means that I'm going to multiply diagonals. Waiting for my screen. Still waiting. Let's see if I can do it. Multiply, where does it go? Oh, I'm off. Multiply diagonals. So if I multiply the diagonals and their product is equal together, they are proportionate. Okay, that means does 3 times 16, that's a diagonal. Does 3 times 16 equal 4 times 12, the other diagonal? And this is where you're welcome to use your calculator to help you. 3 times 16 is 48. Does 48 equal 48? Yes. So since they are equal, since their cross products are equal, they are proportionate. Something that we are required to do with proportions is solve. So I want to make sure that you have this in your notes, solving proportions. The first thing that you do when you solve proportion is set the cross product equal to each other. And then the second thing you're going to do is solve. Alright, so when we solve proportions, we're trying to solve what variable makes it true. Okay, what variable makes it true. So when I'm looking at this 3a's is equal to n over 48, I want to ask myself, what is n that makes this a proportion? So I know that proportions are if I can multiply one by something to get to the other. If I can do it mentally, my goal is to definitely get it done mentally. So can I multiply 8 by something to get to 48, class?
Yes.
Yeah, what?
6.
6. So what does the top turn into?
8, 6, 18.
18, right? Because 8 times 6 is 48. So 3 times 6 is 18. So you would say n equals 18. That is the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
Looking at that second one, and I always go to this from the small number to the big number. Can I multiply 7 by something to get to Yes or no? Yes, I can. Jacob, what do I multiply 7 by to get to 42? 6. So then, I need to multiply the top. Callie, what does that turn into? 12. So I say x equals 12. Now I am going a very roundabout way to get it done. It is definitely, you can just say x equals whatever it equals, right? Okay, what do I multiply? Now notice I'm looking at the 2 and 8 now. I'm not looking at the bottom. My goal is to look at numbers that I have both of them, okay? So what do I multiply 2 by to get to 8? Class, just tell me. 4 times 4. So what's 5 times 4? X is 20. So that's our mental strategy. So you don't have to set the cross product equal in the mental. The next strategy we have, if you look at 20 to 24, I can't multiply 20 by something to get to 24. So I need to think of a different method. If you can't multiply one by something to get to the other, then you need to set the cross products equal to each other. So since I can't multiply 20 by something to get to 24, I'm going to set their cross products equal to each other. That is what do I want to say? It is the principle of proportions that works for all when we solve. So I say 20 times 6 is equal to 24 times x. What that means, I'm setting my proportion equal to each other, my cross product. So I say this times this, that's what I have over on the right side, is equal to that times that. Now notice where my 20 and 6 came from. The diagonal. I have this 20 times that 6. I want you to identify that quick. Well, 20 times 6 is 120 is equal to 24 times x. Now it's a normal one-step solution. We have experienced and solved them. To solve for x, you got to do what's opposite. So this is saying 24 times x. What's opposite of time? Divide. So now I'm going to divide through, and I want you to notice that I am dividing through by this bottom number. So I'm going to divide through by 24, divide through by 24, and what does that turn into? 5. So x is equal to 5. All right, I'm going to go ahead and skip this 8/12 is equal to y over 9 because I don't have any room. I want everybody to write this one in their notes. 7 over 28 is equal to y over 8. So the first thing that I'm saying to myself, can I multiply 8 by something to get to 28? It's big negative. I cannot. Okay? So since I can't multiply by something, then I'm going to use my cross product. I'm going to say 7 times 8 is equal to 28y. 28 times y. I don't know what y is. Now I'm going to just simplify it down a little bit. And I get 56 is equal to 28y all right, so that's saying 28 times y. How do you move times? Divide. So I'm just going to go divide both sides by 28. And again, you are welcome to use your calculator in this whole entire chapter. 56 divided by 28 is 2. So 2 is equal to y. Now, I want you to write down the quick strategy. And I need you to first notice that, again, I'm going to this example here, this first one on the bottom. What I really did is I went 20 times 6. So I went the diagonal that has both the numbers, I times them. And then I divided through by that leftover number. That'll always be the case, always. So what I tell my students most of the time, I say you go number times number. So here I'd go 7 times 8 in my calculator right away. Divided by this bottom number, 28. So you're always going to multiply the number that has the diagonals, divide through by that leftover number. So what I want you to write in your notes is make a heading that says the quick way. The quick way to solve proportion, okay? The first thing we do is you multiply through by the diagonals that have both the numbers. Multiply diagonals that have both numbers. Okay? The second thing, lastly, and I'm making it sound really difficult, it's not. You'll get it once we do examples. This last thing we do is divide by the remaining number. So the quick way to do it, we first multiply the diagonals that have both the numbers, and then you divide through by the remaining number. Wait, here it comes. Okay, if you're still writing, the first thing we do is multiply the diagonals that have both the numbers, and lastly, divide by the remaining number. An example. Okay. And we're going to bring it down again. This might take another 10 minutes to get it where it needs to be. Okay, so, man.
And I like you. Now stop.
All right, we're gonna just deal with it at this spot, okay? Because this screen stinks. So an example that I have would be if you had, and if you can't see, just do your best. 2/5 is equal to 3/21. Well, I didn't mean 3/21. I meant x over 21. So, again, the first thing I do is I look at this 5. I can't multiply 5 by something to get to 21, so I use my cross product. This is what I expect to see in your work. All I'm asking you to do is multiply the numbers that have multiply the diagonal has both the numbers. So I'm going to say x is equal to 2 times 21. That's the diagonal numbers. That's step 1. And then I'm just going to divide it by 5. So, and all you have to do is just plug that into your calculator. 2 times 21 divided by 5 is 8.4. Okay? So it's a lot quicker that way. Yep, so you times the diagonal and then you divide by the other number. So and the strategy that I usually tell students, I say you go number times number divided by the other. But I do need to see what you're punching into your calculator. That's my goal. I can't just see 8.4 as your answer. If you don't like it my way, you can just say 2 times 21 divided by 5. That's another strategy you are welcome to use. So 2 times 21 divided by 5. Both of those I would take. Okay, so you are empowered to get the first half of our 6.2 lesson complete.